Hi everybody, thank you for joining me to a new episode of the KMS Quick Shots. My name is Flo, and today I'm joined by Sergey and Martin, two-thirds of the rock band Rove. Hi guys, nice to meet you.
Hi, Flo. Nice to meet you. And hi, everybody.
So,
thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. You guys explore a lot of nuances regarding rock within the tracks you already did. Let's start by the question, what would you name as your influences so far?
Yeah, this is a question that we could have expected, of course, and we've been thinking about this for a very long time. As you know, there are three members in this band. Each of us is listening to partially overlapping genres. I would put it this way, they're not entirely overlapping. So each of one can speak of the major influences on their musical tastes. As far as I go, I would name, first of all, the grunge bands from the 90s, from Seattle, or Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. But I'm also quite into trip hop music, modern jazz, singer-songwriters genre. So it's really a mix of occasionally irreconcilable styles of music.
And Martin, how about yours?
Yeah, I think so. As Sergey was saying, our taste to some extent also overlaps. So indeed, those older rock bands, trip hop bands is also the kind of bands that I like a lot. I don't know, bands like Radiohead are also a big inspiration for me personally. But I must say, so Sergey is also really, I think, leading in the songwriting process, and especially together with Carl, our third member, when it comes to like the melodies and things like that. So I'm the drummer, and I behave like a drummer. So
I'm a drummer as well. What does this mean?
Well, so I mean, in the sense of, you know, focusing really on the rhythm in the first place and the rhythmic section. And there, of course, there's influences. I'm influenced by I mean, all these bands that I love. Yeah.
So
actually, if I may add to this, I think Martin is being extremely modest at the moment, because he's much more than just a drummer. He's a real partner also in songwriting, because whatever drafts that I used to bring to the table, they were not really songs yet. So together we were really moving them in a certain direction. Martin is, of course, contributing his ideas, and Carl does the same, our currently absent bandmate. And also Martin and Carl, they both sing, they do backing vocals. So there is a way of interweaving, let's say, our contributions in the music that you can hear on this EP into the fold.
So this also explains the broad nuances of rock. It's not just one genre, one nuance, and there we go with 20 different tracks that all sound the same, but you guys just pick apart several pieces of songs and mold it into a new hybrid genre, I would like to say. So I guess this is where it comes from, the different influences from each and every one of you.
Yeah, you could put it this way. In some songs, we do this deliberately. We really put parts together that you might think they are really irreconcilable or incompatible even. One example is Eye of a Needle, for example, which develops from a very soft singer-songwriter with jazz influence into something completely prog rock. That's like another major influence, I think, on the music that we recorded in this Into the Fold EP. You can hear definitely influences of stoner, of neo progressive rock, of prog rock. So it is indeed like a rather eclectic mixture of genres, but there are also other songs which are more coherent in terms of the stylistic tricks.
So going back to day one when Rove was formed, how did you guys meet?
Yeah, so Sergey and I used to be colleagues, so that's how it started. And well, it's actually like we started talking about music and discovered that there was an overlap in our taste and that we liked the kind of things. And then we started, exchanging bands and things like that. At one point, we started going to shows together, I think, too. And then we were like, yeah, so we both haven't. Yeah, we both aren't playing a lot. I guess Sergey was still in another band at that time, but then slowly we started playing together a little bit, and yeah, since then we've slowly expanded from there.
Did you search for the third band member deliberately, or was it a coincidence that he joined?
So initially, Martin and I were playing as a duo, and we were quite happy with this. We were just trying out different songs because there were quite a few song drafts that I wanted to make, but they were not finished. There was something like in the drawer, like mere concepts of songs. So then we decided just to play together and see if we can make something out of that. And I even remember during the first jamming session, I even brought all the instruments I had, including the ukulele, and we were just trying, just having fun, trying out different songs. But then ultimately we got a certain sense of direction, like which songs we really would like to work on, because there is a whole bunch there. And at a certain point, we realized that, okay, these songs really need the third instrument, the bass, guitar. And we started looking for the third member. We tried out a few bass players, but we did not really manage to find the match until we came across Carl, our third bandmate. I think he reacted to an ad, to sort of announcement that was placed on one of the websites for musicians. It was by pure coincidence that he reacted, because he saw something in this material, and he agreed to join us for one of the jam sessions. And then he stayed on, and we're quite happy with this collaboration, because we were looking for a multi-instrumentalist, actually.
Yeah, indeed. So that was a great thing. Actually, we were looking for a bass player within our in the back of our minds that hopefully it was someone who also could do other things. And yeah, so then we found Carl, and it was great because he also has a piano and things like that. So that really enriched, of course, the possibilities for us, and also really enriched our sound.
With how many bass players did you play before you found him as your match?
I think we tried 3 or 4.
Because I also I often think that it's a game of luck to find someone who really can connect with an already existing project. So that's why I was asking, because some people, I guess, search for years to find someone. So that certainly
you could say that about us, because our search also took a couple of years, and with some bass players, we I think played for a month or even 2, but ultimately it didn't really work out because those people had other projects, they had to move on, etc. So it was not easy.
Yeah, there are always several circumstances to keep in mind. There's from family life to office to something else, and even the musical taste and ideas that are playing a role with coming together and forming a band. So since when do you guys actually play together?
With the 3 of us, I think we played with Carl already for maybe 2 years.
Yeah.
Right, Martin?
Yeah, I think so. About 2 years, yeah.
So most of the time you were influenced heavily by the whole COVID mess out there with the restrictions happening and everything. Did you guys play it live before, or didn't you have the chance yet?
Unfortunately, not yet. We're initially planning just on recording a bunch of songs. We have not even had time to plan any gigs, but of course we are waiting impatiently for the end of this pandemic to be able to something live.
Yeah.
And I should say that the pandemic has also affected the timeline of our recording sessions for this EP. Because actually the first recordings were made, I think, in November 2020, so 1 year ago. So the whole process took a bit longer because of the longer intervals in between the sessions. It was also quite hard to rehearse as a trio due to various restrictions which applied in the Netherlands. For example, you could not plan rehearsal sessions with 3 musicians, only with 2. So occasionally we were rehearsing in duos. Sometimes one of us was going to the studio alone. So it was a bit of a mess indeed.
So when creating the tracks for the EP Into the Fold, I read that you did this during the lockdown episodes happening out there, and like you just said, and would you say it might have been also helpful to create those tracks because of the emotional state it put you all in?
Well, you could say that this whole thing with Corona will certainly be audible in our new material, because we've been writing songs in the meantime. Of course, we didn't stop as a band. So all this anxiety, all this mess, all this disturbance, I think would be reflected on the new tracks that we will hopefully record sometime early next year. But we had already very well-formed idea of these 4 songs that we wanted to record as part of the EP. So I wouldn't say that you would hear any moods, Corona-related moods on that specific EP.
Okay.
Rather, Corona affected the process, the time frame of the project. But I don't really know to what extent it affected the substance of it.
No, so indeed, if I can add, I wouldn't say really indeed the substance, but well, as Sergey was saying, those longer intervals also mean, of course, that you have longer time to, in between sessions and in the production process, you have more time to reflect on how you want to go forward. So that in a way, well, you could see as an advantage of taking.
Is it always an advantage?
No, I don't think it necessarily is an advantage. But in this case, also because it was the first time that we recorded with this project. Actually, it was maybe a good thing. Yeah.
So because giving time to think, it also can lead you to doubt what you just created. So with that being said, which one of the 3 of you is the perfectionist? There got to be someone who just picks apart anything of a track until the other guy said, let it go, we're finished.
Yeah, interesting. I think all of us are perfectionists in a way. I don't really know to what extent we're perfectionists when it comes to the contributions of other members, but certainly each of us immediately hears the imperfections in our own share of performance. And then when we come together in a studio to listen to the latest mix, for example, of course we have to really consult each other and see whether everyone is on the same page, and opinions can vary as well. So for some, certain parts are more important than others, or maybe you would hear more than the others because you're more familiar with that specific part. But yeah, it's namely the consultation, the deliberation that is joint, I think, that really helps to even out this potential inconsistencies and make sure that everyone is really behind the sound that you ultimately adopt in a recording.
So when creating new tracks, one throws in an idea, and as you stated before, the other ones contribute to form it into a whole track. Once the raw draft is finished, do you have a designated mixer, or do you do this all by yourselves?
Martin, would you like to?
Yeah, so the way that we go is usually that, we work with demos in our rehearsal space, and we work on them, and then for now we've mainly worked with one guy, and our plan, I mean, we're really happy with how that worked out, so our plan is to keep on working with him. Once we have an idea of, so we're working on ideas for a new EP, and then we take our demos to him, and then then based on those demos we actually start recording. But the demos are really, that's really rough drafts. But we usually record several demos before we say, okay, this is ready to go into the studio.
Does the mixing process also give you additional input when creating songs, or do you go in with the finished track idea and says, okay, mixing is good for well polishing the idea, but we won't go back to the drawing board with the track because of this and that?
In some instances we actually went back to the drawing board, but not, normally we don't. So this time it happened, I think, in respect of some instruments, some parts that we were doubting about. So then we had to put those tracks anew. But for the most part, we just go ahead with the mixing, with the editing. Sometimes we get additional ideas, and then we decide to, for example, add some overdubs, some extra layers. But mostly the track must be finished as the idea once we go to the studio, at least in part of this rough draft. Mm-hmm. But things happen in a studio. It's chemistry. It's the magic. Sometimes you get ideas that you didn't have during the rehearsals, and they happen to be successful ones, and then they get adopted, and then you hear them on the EP. But I would be uncomfortable going to the studio, at least at this stage of our musical career, with having like half a draft ready and hoping that we can finish it in the studio. Of course, the studio time is very expensive, so you really need to know what you're doing.
That would have been my next question. Doesn't it put a lot of pressure on you guys when you finally go to the studio and playing the songs in? So is there always a rushing feel behind this? So we got to finish 3 tracks by the weekend or something like this? Or is it a relaxed atmosphere and everybody does what he can, and then it's all said and done at the end of the day, no matter what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think our experience so far is that it was, while we were aware of this time pressure that's always there, was still quite a relaxed process, I think. Also because, so we, you initially plan a couple of recording days, but then there's always room, if necessary, to, once the basics are there, and then it's of course also an advantage that there's just 3 of us, so to say. You get the basics on tape, and then you can work from there. So yeah, I would say so far it hasn't really, I didn't feel that it restrained us, this time pressure, but it's also because there was still a bit, to some extent there was also a bit an open end, because there was some room to take more time if necessary.
Sergey, what about you? Is recording a stressful thing or a nice thing?
I experienced it as a very nice thing. It's not stressful in a bad way. It's very exciting, exhilarating. It's a real experiment. We take time off from our main jobs, and close ourselves down in the studio, doing the stuff that we really enjoy doing. So it's not a bad kind of stress. That's not how I experienced it. It was just very exciting to see how the project is developing and what it is becoming. Like from the very start of it being just a very rough song draft to something that really sounds interesting and yeah, and that maybe approaches even the ideal that we had in our minds, you know, for those specific tracks. There is, of course, time pressure, but it is also it's also good to have that pressure.
Yeah.
So basically, the whole EP was recorded. All the basic tracks were put down in a matter of 2 days, 2.5 days.
Okay, that's quick. So the tracks already were finished, and I guess you guys were relaxed enough to just play it in like that.
Yeah, we were quite well prepared, I thought.
So with 2022 around the corner, you just mentioned a couple of tracks in the making. Is that correct?
Yeah. So our idea is to keep working on the new material and perhaps also take a few songs from our back catalog, which are still in the demo form, which we did play with Carl, with our bass player already, and then make a selection for the next EP, perhaps also preceding that with a couple of singles. But we are now discussing what songs should go into the new EP or which ones we could release as singles. But we're now working on this new material as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there plans to play live once the thing out there is coming to an end as well, or do you just focus on producing tracks right now and the live gig comes later?
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, playing live is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the most fun things to do, to be on stage together. So, and I also really think that that it improves your band. So yeah, we will definitely try to arrange gigs once things open up again. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
that's definitely a priority.
The future will hold several parts of the journey for you guys. I guess the live gig thing and the other tracks in the making. Last question would be, is there a deliberate decision to make the EP with several tracks, or was it coincidence and you plan on releasing single tracks as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, our initial dream was actually to release an album, you know, something that is full length, complete, but we were also quite realistic about the amount of time we have, resources we have, and we thought it would be good first to start with a smaller scale project, the EP. But now we're even questioning our initial approach or our initial dream of releasing an album, because it seems that this is not how the music is being produced and consumed these days, that it may be actually better to release separate tracks like singles, which may become or may not become part of the future album. So it would be, I think, good just to test the reception in a way by using this format of a single and giving the public some of the exhibits of our different genres, for example, and see how they actually fare. And that would actually give us a better basis to decide on the format of our next bigger release. Should it be an EP or an album? That's also the advice that we received.
Mm-hmm. Would you say there's already an existing date after you just released the EP? Is there a date for future releases yet, or don't you have planned anything yet?
No, there is no date for future release.
Okay,
so, I mean, there is a general sense of strategy of what we are planning to do next, but we have not recorded those tracks yet, so there is no release date.
So we'll stick with the EP for now and wait what will come ahead.
Indeed, indeed.
All right. Sergey, Martin, thank you very much for joining me tonight. It was a pleasure talking to you. Guys out there, if you want to know more about Rove, the tracks and their projects, please make sure to check out the links at the end of the video. That's it for tonight. All I have to say is be safe. Until next time. See you. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye, everyone.